Every interaction has to feel intentional, delivering the exceptional customer service.
Tanya, a seasoned expert in IT and customer service, is now dedicated to helping Glo Tanning franchisees achieve lasting success.
There is 3 customers in front of you and you finally get there, and now the person behind the counter is talking to you and the phone rings. Attention away from the customer standing in front of them, and your experience goes like down. And I strongly recommend this, that do not have physical phones in the salons.
This is a centralized call center that no matter which Glo location you're calling out of the 100 open locations, it all goes to this call center.
We do our absolute best to retain that customer. And I think for franchisees, that's extremely important.
You've seen a difference in retention rates when we switched over from the salons trying to save their own customers to the call center? Tanya, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to talk to you about your position and how you support franchisees at Glo today.
Thank you. Great being here.
So can we start off a little bit with your background? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Glo.
Okay, so I lead the guest service department, the corporate guest service department. That's actually a remote department. And my background has always been in working with customer-centric brands. So basically a variety of industries, but always a focus on delivering the exceptional customer service and focusing on every customer where every interaction is has to feel intentional. That's kind of what I'm going for.
Okay, love it. So tell me about what is guest services and why was it developed?
Okay, so you walk into this incredible, Glo Tanning place, and there is 3 customers in front of you, and you finally get there, and now the person behind the counter is talking to you, and the phone rings. Okay, and your experience goes like down. Okay, so it was developed in order to give every customer in front of the spa consultant the best possible experience ever. So there are actually salons, and I strongly recommend this, that do not have physical phones in the salons. There's no phone lines, but what we know for sure is that the spa consultant will never, ever, ever, ever take their attention away from the customer standing in front of them and asking for direction in order to pick up the phone. So it's created to make everyone's life not only easier, but for the customer service experience to be just absolutely phenomenal when they are in the store, as well as when they call, they're never put on hold. They're not put on hold saying, hey, can I put you on hold for a second? So it's created with customer in mind to give the best customer service experience.
And this is a centralized call center that no matter which Glo location you're calling out of the 100 open locations, it all goes to this call center that has no hold times. And then you also have training specifically, I guess that's separate for the people on the call. So we went over like how it helps customer experience in the store. Now my employees could focus on the customer experience, not on the phones. And the other good thing is, okay, now that they're calling a call center, we could specialize in training that call center on how to save memberships or talk them out of cancellations or put on freeze instead. Can you walk through some of the other benefits, I guess, on the training side and what the call center is trained to do when customers call in?
Absolutely. So they're trained they're trained for a long time. That's the first thing. We can afford to train them for a long time. And it's an ongoing training. Initial training is for 3 weeks, and then an ongoing training for at least 3 months before they actually get to take calls on their own without the support. And then they have consistent support of the supervisors and the managers until they learn to absolutely handle every aspect of the call on their own. So we handle anything from general questions like, what is spray tanning, and how often should I spray tan, and how long should I spray tan for, all the way to account questions, billing questions, upgrading memberships, canceling memberships, or putting memberships on freezing memberships. And that's another reason why it's super important that it's centralized, is because every call is really different. Like you can bunch it in a couple of categories, but every call is really different. And the customer service representatives are trained to handle the variety of the calls.
Okay, I love that. So not only again as a franchisee, I don't have to worry about it, but offloading it to corporate, now we could train, a few dozen corporate reps that this is all they do rather than the brand, as a whole. Imagine training 100 salons, 10 people per salon to try to give good customer service on the phone. Like there's no way that's happening. So, and I imagine that, I mean, have you seen a difference in retention rates when we switched over from the salons trying to save their own customers to the call center saving customers?
Absolutely. So it's completely two different job descriptions. And I believe the success of any business is if you can have employees or partners that actually focus on what they're really good at. So the experience in the salon is if I walk in as a customer, what I want is I want to be looked after fast. I want a smile. I want, a pretty experience. And I want to be able to really enjoy that half an hour that I took out of my day, that I squeezed in between work, job, and kids. On the other hand, when I call because I have a billing question, I want someone to really pay attention to me, to pull up my account, to give me all the answers to all the questions that I have. If I want to go 6 months back and ask questions about that, then I want someone whose attention to detail to my specific account is right there. So what we found is that once we separated that is you can actually have two completely different roles, whereas the customer feels that this is the same experience across the brand and they get what they need whenever they have a question.
I love that. Talk to me about metrics. Ani has showed it a little bit on the different metrics that you're tracking, and it's incredible. Like every call that comes in is recorded,
Yes.
who it's going to, what the outcome was. But yeah, what are those key metrics that you guys are looking for through guest services?
Okay, so the metrics are, for example, we are the average handling time and the average call time, the customer satisfaction. So, for example, one thing that's super important is after every call, the survey is sent to the person that was on the phone. Okay, and then we closely monitor those surveys, basically for coaching opportunities. Because I think one of the things that we want our employees to be is extremely coachable. So those are this is one of the thing. Another thing that we really pay attention to is the number of cancellations versus the number of new memberships. And then we also look at cancellations to freezes. So the customer service representative takes time to find out what is the reason for cancellation. And unless people are moving out of the area and moving into the area where there is no Glo Tanning place, then we do our absolute best to retain that customer. And I think for franchisees, that's extremely important because the customer that's retained is one customer less that we have to actually go out there and find a new one. Then on the IT side, the metrics that we have is making sure that all of the equipment is working properly, making sure that all of the systems are working properly. And that's another thing that people in the store have incredible support where they can call the store line.
And I've seen some like shifting now to more on the IT side. I've seen some really cool leaderboards that every day, week, month, year we can see, where we rank compared to the entire franchise system and new memberships sold versus total services given every single day. Is that also under your department in the IT?
Absolutely. And the goal of those metrics is that the franchisee is never surprised at the end of the month with what happened. So, we monitor this hourly and daily, and you know exactly where you are. And you can monitor, for example, you can ask for, hourly monitoring of number of phone calls, or how fast did the IT department solve any problem that you may have had. And we give you metrics on all of that as well.
So the if I have a Glo store and I'm getting customers that are calling my store, it's being fielded to guest services, but I'm still getting a report on who called my location and how that went.
Absolutely.
Is that all
Absolutely.
accurate? Awesome. So I
Absolutely.
get all the data without having to do any of the work. Doesn't
Yes, you
sound like
do.
a bad deal. So
Yeah.
the leaderboards are really cool because people are competitive by nature, and it's like, wow, the Oxford store is just, a hair above me. I need to go sell XYZ. What are those what are the KPIs that the franchisees are available to see? And I guess there's twofold, right? One is store performance based on their store versus everybody else. And then is there any metrics that we're sharing with them on their employees as far as the success or failure of their employees to sell memberships, lotions, things like that?
Absolutely. So basically, we have also a daily scoreboard on what is sold in the store. Okay. And then we closely monitor, and I think this is very important, we closely monitor any kind of reviews. So we have daily report on, Oxford got five stars, and then got 1 1 star. And what was the reason for that 1 star? And then another thing that the guest services does that I think is extremely helpful for any franchisee is the guest service department actually reaches out to everybody that has less than a 5 star review, less than given the 5 star review. And very often that 5 star review is actually earned by just guest services calling them. So let's say you give Oxford Store a 3 star review, and then the guest service department calls, or guest service agent calls you and says what happened. You tell us the problem, we fix the problem, and then you take the review down. And I think, or improve the review to 5 star review. And as we all know, we live in the world of reviews.
Yes.
So
Where are these reviews? Are we talking like Google Map reviews?
we're talking about Yelp, Google, and then all of our internal reviews, where like we use something called a post call on our actual guest services. So if a client calls and complains about the store, you will also know that not only from the guest service department letting you know that the customer complained, but you will also know it from a report if they actually left a review after the phone call.
Awesome. So you guys are, yeah, that's something new. I didn't know that you guys are also monitoring all reviews and trying to get
Yeah.
reviews up and solve concerns, even if they don't reach out to you. You guys are proactively looking out there. That's really cool.
And this is a great KPI. Sorry, this is a great KPI. So, for example, if I own the store and you own the store, okay, and I look at the end of the month or weekly, but I mean, most franchisees will look at it once a month. But if I see that you don't have 1 star reviews and I do, okay, then I know exactly who to look at or who to call and say, okay, Bennett, what are you doing that I'm not doing? Okay, or the other way around, I have great reviews, and then you just call me.
Tanya, what would you say to a prospective franchisee, in regards to everything that you're over IT, as well as guest services? What else should they know about what Glo does in supporting them for their success?
Okay, so I would say my advice is simple. If you're looking for a franchise that values customer experience and puts customer first, as much as we do, then Glo Tanning is the place. Okay. We don't just talk about great service. We have all the systems in place, all the departments in place, all the positions within departments in place, to deliver phenomenal customer service, and to actually operationally not only deliver the customer service, but give you all the KPIs and all the metrics so that you know exactly where you are. You know exactly where your employees are, you know who's selling more, who's selling less, you know who's got more complaints, who's got less complaints, who's got, at the end of the day, more praises, who you can promote within. So a lot of our franchise owners are not in the stores 24/7, okay? And this eliminates the hearsay of, people working in the store, this one's better, that one's better. You have very clear KPIs. And on the IT department, I think for a franchisee, the fact that this IT department is the size, and provides the support of a large corporation, really, that has over 1,000 employees, whereas you may only have 5, and then you won't be able to have an in-house IT department or anybody to call when something goes wrong. I think the support is the number one reason why I would become a franchise at Glo. Another great thing for franchisees is, how the phone numbers on the website are what the customers call. Okay. Well, we still have an incredible interaction in between the spa consultants, the store itself, and the guest service department on a dedicated store line. So that's a number that no one else knows other than franchisees and employees at the specific locations. And that is the number that's picked up first.
Got it. So that's I left my ring, I call guest services. Guest services can immediately call the salon. They have a
Yes,
dedicated number. They're going to answer it because they know it's guest services, that, it's not a sales call or anything else. And then they
yes.
can resolve all of that super quickly.
Yes. And also if there is a guest in the store that has a billing question that is not handled by those employees in the store, all they do is call the number, hand it to the guest, and we actually talk to the guest while the guest is in the store, while the spa consultant is helping other guests in the line.
Oh, awesome. Okay, sweet. That's so cool. I mean, nobody else that I've seen is even remotely close to not only attempting the support, but not only, achieving the support, but it's the metrics. Because as a business owner, I mean, look at Glo, most franchisees own multiple locations. How do I manage 8 stores, right? If I'm John, well, I need to know the metrics because I'm not going to know each one of my employees individually, but I could just look, hey, this employee needs better training on how to upsell for memberships. And this one, maybe we need to replace. But it's so cool because you can make those decisions based on metrics, not guessing, which, a lot of us do that in business. You're just kind of guessing and hoping it works out.
And from day one, you'll know exactly what the employee has sold, which package, or what the employees has upsold, what employee has made a great impression on the customer, and who did they complain about,
Yeah.
um, as well as hourly and daily sales. Okay, because IT department produces those reports as well.
Awesome. So it's a lot that you guys are doing. If you had to highlight one aspect that gives Glo the biggest competitive advantage, in regards to guest services and IT support for franchisees, what do you feel like it would be?
That the customer feels that they're always special. Okay. So it's like you even go to the doctor's office nowadays and you're talking to the assistant, and they say, can you hold on a second? And then they pick up the phone. I think in a world where someone calling you takes away from the human interaction, okay, we make sure that that doesn't happen. We make sure that the customer in front of the spa consultant, okay, gets 100% attention, and the customer that's calling or texting or emailing. We do have a chat as well available. We do have text. We haven't talked about that, but this is not only phone calls. So for all those millennials like my kids that they talking does not mean calling.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We do have an excellent support, and we are constantly upgrading that. I think that would be another great advantage of Glo, is that we don't wait for something to become a trend and then we kind of jump on the wagon. We try to be ahead of the trend and make sure that we talk to our customers in the age groups that they are and the way they want to talk, which means if they never want to talk to anybody and they just want to chat, we gladly chat. And we do have humans behind those chats and behind those chatbots, which is probably another advantage.
Yep, I love it. Shifting gears on more of a personal note, how have you liked working for Glo and what's your favorite part?
On a personal note, it's actually very interesting. The number one reason on a personal note that I really think this is an incredible company is I always believe that the success and the satisfaction of the customers and employees is equally important. So when a company reaches the point where the customers want to be customers and the employees want to stay employed and part of a team, to me that is incredible. The Own Your Future program is extremely important. And the reason why it's important is because retaining employees in today's world is really hard. Okay. And especially when you have a small franchise and, young people come and work for you, and then they don't see the future. So they're like, okay, this is an intern job. And when it's an intern job, then they don't, put all of that they have into it. Okay. Whereas when a young person starts working at Glo and then sees that there is, as you say, like 10 plus stores already that are owned by someone like them that started only 3 years ago. Okay. Then that's the reason why they will stay with you much longer than they're going to stay and work for a competitor. Okay. And that's a reason why I've seen recently, I've talked to a couple of franchisees, why they can actually get the employees to move from the competitor and work for us because they see that future. So, upward mobility, okay, is actually absolutely possible. And that dream of owning your own business, if you're a super young entrepreneur, but don't know where you're going to find capital
Yeah.
because your dad doesn't have money for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I was there.
I'll tag on that a little bit. You talked about upward mobility, so it's like, okay, well, but that already exists, right? I could start as a salon man or an attendee or whatever we call them, and then move up to a manager, and then you're like, wait, and then what? Not
Then what?
only, and then you're like, okay, well, then you can manage 2 stores, then you can manage 4 stores, but at some point, it's still capped. Like, how much are you going to pay somebody? Doesn't matter how many stores they're managing, it's still going to be capped where the ownership isn't. Because typically, what I'm seeing, and I've interviewed a lot of these people that have gone through the program, they start with 1 store, but their investor wants to do 5. So, and then they're at 3 stores within a few years, and then they go to 5. So it's not only that you're not limited on your pay, but now you go to ownership, and then the number of locations. In most cases, they're owning multiple locations. You open up one, 6 months later, go open your next one, and then a year later. So the upward mobility is pretty freaking infinite with what's
It
going
is.
on.
And it's real. It's not, an Instagram post that's not going to happen. It is actually real. And I think that is absolutely incredible. I always loved empowering young people. I was once young. But I think this is like, even in the interview process, when you're interviewing that store manager or someone who tells you, you ask them, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And they tell you they want to own a store like that. You have your winner, and they will stay and they will work for you and they will push through with you. And I think that is extremely important for franchisees, that yes, they want to own a store, but they don't want to work 24/7.
Yep. And it's been really cool to get to know the people that have gone through those, and speaking with the investors, just how happy both of them are. They're like, I can't believe I now own 3 salons. I'm a part owner in 3 salons. And the investor's like, I can't believe I own 3 salons and I haven't had to step foot in the store. Like, it's just a it's just a good
It's a
win-win.
true win-win. No, it really is a true win-win.
Tanya, thank you so much for your time and sharing everything. Moreover, though, thank you for building out the cool IT and guest services department to provide extensive support to franchisees.
Thank you, Bennett. And I hope we help many other franchisees build their dreams.